Welcome to the Peaked podcast, where I talk about gender identity ideology and other bad ideas, women's rights, and free speech from a European point of view. Good morning, Romeo Kodra.
Good morning.
Welcome. Hello. Welcome to my podcast. So I'm here in Brussels. You are in Finland. You're not in, what's the capital of Finland again? Tampere? No. Helsinki. Are you in Helsinki?
I am in Espoo, which is very near to Helsinki.
Okay. And is there a reason why you're there and not in the capital city? Is this a love story, or is it something to do with where your work is located, or?
Uh, no, it's just happened.
Why not?
I came here and I like here, so it's more outside the sea. It's on the seaside, so
Okay.
it's much quieter. Although Helsinki is not so.
We're here to talk today about the European Union's mechanisms for funding the arts and other things. And I got in touch with you because I was looking for, I can't remember exactly, but I was looking on LinkedIn for something to do with European Arts, Culture and Education Agency, EASIA, I call it, you call it EACIA. One of these agencies that's sort of an arm of the European institutions that manages, like, does the project management of the funding of arts and culture and education grants, as it says in the name. I came across you because you were having a bit of a rant about something that you experienced with relation to EU funding. And I am a pro EU podcaster. I understand that you are fond of the European Union also. We're not here to shit all over the EU and to nuke it from the inside or whatever, but you've noticed some issues. As I said to you the last time we spoke, I noticed some issues with the ability to talk openly about certain topics inside the Commission. You noticed a big problem with the funding mechanism. So that's why I got in touch with you. But maybe you could just start by giving us a little bit of your backgrounds. Can you tell me where you're from and your professional thing and what you do for a living?
I was born in 77, and part of my life as a lot of people from the Balkans. I spent outside, so as an immigrant, uh, and my university studies. I finished them in Bergamo in Italy. As I told you, I have a bachelor degree in public and institutional mass communication and a master in theory techniques of management of art and entertainment. So I started being involved with the agency. I called the agency, which the name is Education, Audiovisual and Culture Executive Agency, which is, as you told, the agency that funds European art and culture projects. I was selected after I had applied online as an external expert evaluator in 2015. And just by sending my CV, my background, on the languages that I spoke, and the geographical experience that I have throughout the region. Italy, Balkans, and I think this were somehow the criteria why they selected me. I think.
Okay. Could you just tell us what is an external evaluator? What does that job entail? So I understand up till now you've got this kind of cross-border experience, you speak multiple languages, and your studies basically concern the technical management of mass communication and arts events. So your specialty isn't art in itself, I understand. It's the management of art, basically.
In my master studies and also my experience, like as a practitioner, I do art by myself and also organize cultural events. So, but somehow these two combined, I mean, my background studies in the bachelor studies. So it is, as I told you, is at the beginning, I didn't, to be honest, feel very this my background would fit so good in doing and the evaluator, because in public institutional mass communication is exactly what this agency does. So they communicate their decisions, so to the applicants that came from art and culture field. So my field of expertise of the master that I've done and also my experience. So was a accidental match. Maybe who organized in Bergamo this curricula had in mind something similar, but happened to be myself in the exact position. And as I told you when we talked to you before, I saw this as a very good opportunity and the best practice in decision making of public institutions. So the European Commission's making this decision by giving to the applicants feedback concretely how they have evaluated with a measurable criteria, points and explanation of the points. So you didn't at the time, I mean, even today, you don't find anywhere else some similar practice when you have the feedback from the institution that
Okay,
the decisions.
I just want to clarify that we're talking about the public funding of the arts here. So we're talking about every country, pretty much every country has some sort of mechanism for funding the arts. Um, we see that a lot. We have a current sort of mini drama going on with Christopher Nolan and this placing a black character in a role that would have in history was a white person. I didn't follow the story closely, but you sort of have these well actually that's a diversity criteria that's maybe individual to that institution, but you have a lot of if ever I see any film or cultural production that has some sort of political message or some sort of diversity message, I can be sure that there's public funding in there somewhere. So here we're talking about the state giving money to artists to create their art, which is a necessary thing, we all agree, which can sometimes get suffused with political messaging because I mean that's just how the world is, I guess. But you were selected as an evaluator because you were good at looking at a project's proposal and saying, okay, that's a good way to organize this event. It's a good way to reach people. Here are the objectives. So you sort of came together with the European funding mechanism, which is operated through a program called Creative Europe, and you were selected to look at the project proposals and then to give them a points, evaluate them on the basis of how well or not they meet the criteria set out by the EU. And then you had to pass them up, basically, your evaluation, your expert evaluation. Is that more or less it?
Yes. So as I told you, it was almost accidental because of my background of studies and experience. So you evaluate within the European Commission institutional framework, but as an external expert. So is the institution that it's open enough to say, hey, I don't have the capabilities, the capacities, and to understand really in the real time, like hic et nunc in Latin, that they say now and in this moment here. So we use or we involve external experts that are practicing now in Europe to evaluate other art and culture project proposals that we received. So, and that's what I saw like something good. And when the institution was open enough to let the decision makers be outside of the institution. somehow, because that's the name of the in the contract, like external expert that I had.
Yeah.
But
So
we
what you're
I
saying,
discovered later what this really was. So
you discovered later, yeah, indeed. So I think it's sounds like a great system. It sounds like I mean, it's difficult to get over institutional biases, but it's the best setup that we can hope for. That you take in external evaluators, they give their expert opinion. You said to me the last time we spoke that coming from the Balkans, coming from Albania, where you saw how things were managed there, you saw this EU example as a kind of a much better system. And I said to you the last time, perhaps you were a little bit idealistic. Can you tell me a little bit about how you compared your system in your former communist Albanian corner of the world and how things were done in Brussels and Strasbourg, etc.?
yeah, I have to be so we have to be very careful with the wording now, because Albania was never a communist country. So was a communist was the Communist Party, and the Party of the Labor was exactly called, and is a socialist country where we applied the scientific socialism. So it's not, there is no a communist country, but the ideological framework of the party was that, and was not. I didn't see the problem only in Albania. I came from Italy when I was involved as a university lecturer, and also in a very important research theater group. So in Bergamo, called Teatro Tascabile, and I knew from inside what were the problems of people applying for funds. And so the situation is not good compared to Albania, but
Could you describe a little bit the kind of problem that you're talking about?
yes, for example, in Bergamo, I was involved with Teatro Tascabile, and they had like 40 years of research theater. They are very famous in what is called the third theater, and Eugenio Barba's tradition and the Grotowski tradition. So research theater, and they in Bergamo, because how they worked, are very small and very concentrated on the research, so they do not do like a commercial theater. They do very specific things. So if there is no support from public institution that recognize, they are recognized in books, in so from the professors that have written about them. So everywhere you have this feeling that they are recognized. But when we went to the public institution to ask for fundings, you never understood what are these people asking for. So it looks like these people are now somehow constricted to beg for money. That was the feeling, because when you got the support, when you didn't got the support, you didn't have the feeling that the institution understood you and your work. So sometimes you say, "Oh, thank you for supporting us," but there's a real feeling why they have supported us in this thing. You didn't grasp. You of course you know that you are doing your thing, but
Yeah.
to compare with the criteria, and this is very important, because when the public institution supports certain art projects, cultural projects, there must be like a political framework, because that's the institution for the Ministry of Culture. They are elected people that manage the public goods. So, and they are giving directing money to a
And it
very
was still just very random.
yeah, was it feels very random, because you didn't have this feedback. So the explanation of points that you got the project, the written explanation of these points, where you got these points, and how how the institution connected really what with the people working in the field, in the concrete.
And I guess in terms of financial stability, that's also a problem. In terms of philosophy and organization, it's difficult. But in terms of actually knowing if you have a chance of having funding the next round or whatever, it also must be quite difficult because there's no way of knowing what the criteria
Exactly,
are.
you don't have the parameters, you don't have the referential points. Of course, you see the criteria published, which are very random, but how they interpret those and how I, from the field, interpret those are totally different things. And maybe I'm lucky to have the fund, but I don't concretely know. And if there is not the evaluation based on criteria, points, and explanation of points, we don't see how these two merged.
In French,
So
they
that's
say it has to be bien cadré. It's not cadré, like it's not organized according to a framework that you can easily understand and adapt to. So, in your opinion, just before we move on, because just talking about these decisions in public institutions, if you had to guess what the criteria were, why the decisions were made to fund things, would you say it's just personal taste of individual bureaucrats, or did it seem that there were in Bergamo there were political things at play?
well, it's different because, for example, in the Bergamo experience, we had finances from a private bank. I mean, and they knew, and the people that were inside the bank knew somehow or were passionate enough to understand what they were doing. So they had some support from this side, and also within the municipality itself, when they got funds, was more like a personal thing with the I don't know now for the bureaucratic point of view, the person that was in that place where the decision were made. So they knew somehow their work that these people are doing. In other contexts in Albania, you could find also like total like sort of exchange of favors and
Personal connections
clients,
and
nepotism, and all this kind of things that happens. I also saw that in Bergamo, so it's not only in Albania. I saw that, but was not somehow related directly with the because was the theater itself was important, so somehow was more careful treated this institution that was doing research in theater and for decades, and so
Mhm.
was less visible, but there were I saw also that. So
Yeah.
in other situations. So the thing is that when I found this opportunity within the European Commission and the agency, I thought was the best practice. I don't know how to call it because there was this paper when you could see how the institution has interpreted the field and the public money is justified in its expenditure. So there is a paper that says we in the institution, the public, the politician that has the vote, that took the votes of the
That won the
people
election.
that was elected, made this decision. He said so was very, very. I mean, you could have the feeling uh, that the policy and all these famous keywords that they see diversity and all this kind of stuff have a meaning. So what is really that about? So you see how these
Yeah.
points are merged, are concretely, and these the only thing that you can demonstrate the translation of these keywords into practice.
And
On
can I
this
ask you,
paper, you can see exactly what it means.
Can I ask a question? Right. So, like, my stupid basic understanding of how the arts are funded is that a long time ago it was rich people. I listened to a podcast recently about the guy who paid for all of Vermeer's paintings, and it was just incredible. And if it weren't for this one guy who really loved Vermeer's style of painting, there would have been no Vermeer. So it's kind of that's how it was in the olden days. So that's very much a biased way of funding art. Now we have this other system, and you're saying that okay, so the commission that exists right now, the decisions about funding were made or were agreed at least by the people who were elected by it democratically. So we have this sort of very different system where funding decisions are made based sort of more on the will of the people, I guess. And if you don't like it, then you can vote them out the next time. So you don't have any objection to the idea that an elected party, let's imagine we voted far right tomorrow and they wanted to go back to all the classics and I don't know, they wanted no more whatever, tell me, they want no more diversity in films. If it's democratically elected or the other way, the completely lefty communist, Marxist, whatever, and they wanted to put socialist messaging, and everyone voted for that. And you're saying that this framework for you, it doesn't matter what the political direction is, as you're happy as long as you have something that you can properly evaluate. Or do you have any comment on the political influence on the funding of the arts?
Oh, of course, I have comments, and but as I told you, from a procedural, from the institutional point of view, that was very good, and is the only thing through which you can give a meaning of the word that you call democracy. So that people that decide, it's the only. So you follow this very thin thread from the political propaganda and words used to gather the masses and have the votes. Okay, and is this you see this very thin thread that is connecting the political propaganda with the reality in the field, the concrete things. When you say from the actors of the field, we want the diversity. What does this mean for the politicians? Nobody knows. It is written in this paper when I sign how many points and why I gave so many points. And I am from outside the field evaluating what is happening in the field, and I have to explain. I gave you 5 points instead of 10 because of you are missing one, two, three. And if it's not true, you can appeal the decision of the institution, you from the field, you can appeal based on these things. If I said that you don't have one thing, two things, three things, if you find something that I missed, so, I have one of these three things that you haven't seen, so you can demonstrate that and you can appeal. So it's the right place to see how this propaganda is translated in reality. And if this thin thread is broken, it starts everything is propaganda. So it's not,
But
you
so
cannot demonstrate.
right, but I mean, it all kind of sounds like propaganda anyway, and there's no avoiding that in a way. Would that not be accurate to say?
Well, it's all propaganda if you don't. So in the art field, it's much more. One can easier understand what we are talking about, because art is of course subjective. Is of course subjective, but this doesn't mean that my subjectivity is above all because I am saying so. I have to demonstrate that my subjectivity is bringing something new in a context, and I have to demonstrate this, that this is something new in the context. So I am the diverse guy, and I'm bringing the this diversity. And this diversity is very specific, is mine, and I'm showing it. If somebody else says, hey, you are diverse, is okay, but is some other guy that 100 years ago has done the same thing. And you can find in avant-garde's experiences in the 19th, 20th century, very revolutionary things done in the art field with this diversity thing that we use it like a sort of keyword, and nobody understands really what it is. So my subjectivity, I have to demonstrate that. If some other guy says, hey, you are doing something that is already done, then I cannot say that I am diverse, or at least I cannot say that I'm the most diverse, I'm bringing this something new, because it's new. It's not new. Somebody else is showing me something else happened similar or the exact thing 100 years ago. So everything is demonstrated.
Right. So we have this system where your expertise is being used to judge whether the artists who come to the commission for money are meeting the objectives, the very clear objectives of the institution. And if they meet those objectives, then you give them points. If they don't meet those objectives, you don't give them points. And then it's all, and you said to me before that there's another person at the same time evaluating every project at the same time as you. Can you give me an example of, in terms of what you were talking there about subjectivity? And let's, I mean, I let the word diversity, yeah, it is a bit complicated, but let's say, I know that the EU loves the cross-border dimension. So I guess this is one of the big parts of the evaluation is the cross-border dimension. Is there any way to give an actual concrete example of how you would evaluate the merits of a project based on cross-border content?
Yeah, as I told you before, I have written a book when I mentioned also this project that had the problem, but I mentioned also another example which has to do with the diversity, so you can understand even better now. There was a project that we had a lot of debates, and first we were two experts, and we couldn't find a consensus because we have divergent opinions on the project, and then become three. Another expert, we became three individual experts evaluating the same project, and it took like hundreds, I don't want to say a thousand of messages exchanging of what to do with this. And the exact thing was, this project was doing something with the women in classical music, okay? To empower women or something. I'm just summarizing, so not very detailed, but was about women in classical music. And of course, living and seeing here in Finland, or I don't know, in Europe generally, this was somehow okay. We don't have a lot of famous directors of orchestras that are women.
Composers,
So the
yeah.
most composers are a lot of. So there is a disbalance, and you could argue that. Okay, that's so the project made sense. But if you do this, and I said I took the example of southern Italy, Albania, and with countries with another culture. And I said, listen, if you do something like this in some situations that I know, when a guy doing a classical ballet dancer is perceived as gay, and you want to empower women, or some guy playing piano is perceived as a gay because of a cultural and the contextual environment. So if you do something for women there, you're doing exactly the contrary. You are so. Do you see now how this diversity, empowering women, can be exactly the contrary, and even worsen the situation post context? there you have to say, hey, this is also for guys, work for guys. This is why didn't you have a lot of guys playing violin, piano, or a dancer, ballet dancer, classical ballet dancer? Because this mentality
Yeah, I
changes
agree.
by changing the context. So, and it took hundreds of
And so what was the alternative argument was like, no, 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 we need to have more women. That's the outcome. We don't care. Like, what
well,
was the counter argument?
I don't remember if this project was. I was the one pointing out this contextual divergence. So, because of course the project was cultural cooperation, so different countries, and one of the countries was Italy and some other Greece, Balkans. I don't remember, but as I told, it's a different conception of. If you know that reality, you cannot say that hey, the women's here. No, there are a lot of women's, and because of the prejudice, so the macho thing, guys don't go there to do
Yeah,
this
yeah,
kind of art. So and was the debate was in between the experts, so that was the difficulty. And the project of course got so like because at the end I highlighted my what were my concerns in the consensus report, so everybody's writes the concerns at the end, so after the evaluation you agree, and we agreed of 80 points, which was above the threshold, so
it went through.
was considered for funding this project. I don't remember now it was funded or not, but
Okay.
this was the process. So all the experts agreed, of course, hundreds of messages. Doesn't happen very often because it was very particular project and very specific concern highlighted, but that was the process and the procedure.
And that's it's a little bit of an East versus West sort of thing, isn't it? We've Northern Europeans who are all about the women
Also
in science,
southern
women
and
in
northern. So
okay. I used to write for Horizon magazine, which is one of the EU's it's a research and innovation magazine, and every year I had to interview the women in science, women innovators, women in STEM. I can't remember, but every year I had to interview the winner. And I remember the first time I did it, the woman said to me, I hate this. Shit, I hate being considered the best woman in science. She was like, I want to win a prize for just being a woman, for being a scientist. Yeah, it was very awkward. But yeah, the commission is full of these kind of I know how to fix human nature. We're gonna force people to it's a little bit fake, I think. And it's true. I think I
it's
understand.
fake. It's fake when you don't understand the context. So if you understand the context, if somebody says to me that hey, this your opinion makes sense in your context, and I am able to show you that it's something different from this other context, then in exchanging our opinions, we can reach a real consensus and not make the whole thing. For example, my suggestion was that hey, this project is very good, but change the meaning of the project in this context because it's dangerous. So you can articulate it differently and make things not only for women. We want to do this 10 workshops and 10 uh, I don't know shows with only women. You have to change it in that context, in that specific. You can maintain the same project, but you have to show that you understand the context when you are.
And in that, would you, for example, just taking that specific example, because one of the things that a lot of women's rights campaigners don't like is being lumped in with women and gender minorities. So basically, they're putting women and gay men together, but women and gay men, in some ways, they have very similar overlaps in treatment, opportunities, whatever. But in other ways, what gay men want and what women want are very, very different. And I'm talking about like access to surrogacy, stuff like this, prostitutions. Women and men are different. And so what I see happen a lot is women and gender minorities is sort of merging into one thing. Are you suggesting that in certain cultural contexts that the opportunity shouldn't be limited to women, it should be enlarged to be everyone, or women and gender minorities, meaning gay men, basically?
I am against every limitation. So whatever you do, don't limit. That's my opinion. But you cannot constrict someone. So that has to obey certain practices. You cannot also something forcefully. So
Yeah.
in like, to me it's very basic, and if I understand it, everybody can understand. I'm not talking about something very highly intelligent theoretical thing. It's very basic. Everywhere in the world, when you go, everyone agrees in this basic thing. So I cannot impose you something that I do, and you cannot impose your thing to me. I cannot limit you, you cannot limit me, but this is reciprocal. And there is in culture, now I want to be theoretical a bit. In culture, there was Jacques Derrida pointing out that culture means culture, as agriculture, cultural events, cultural tradition and culture. But the word culture comes from Latin and is color, and is the base from the colonization as well. So it's very tricky, the culture. I can share my culture with you, but I can also colonize you. So do you see the trick now? So through culture, I can colonize you through imposing my culture to you and also colonizing to you. And this is, of course, related to soft power and all these things
Are
that we know.
you making a direct link here to the way EU funded arts funding is sort of colonizing a bit the other cultures, or are we too theoretical for
For
that?
sure, for
For
sure.
sure.
Not, I'm not even myself. So I don't want to exclude myself. So when I do something, pay attention not to be colonized. So I'm not taking the distances from the context that I am. And also when I do art, when I show art to somebody else, there is this exchange. There is something going on in between the relation of who is producing something and who is
Consuming.
looking and consuming it. So, but
You have to be
this is
conscious
very,
of that
of
relationship.
course, both of us. So my I that I'm producing it and you that are consuming it. By this, what I'm saying is that we have to take the responsibilities. Me, first of all, and also you. So, but this has to should be open and like to make we must come to a common understanding of this. So the culture is also the colonization. People should understand this. If we say, oh, the very beautiful culture, we promote our culture or we take the other's culture, culture is always colonization, always, since the etymological definition of the term. So don't
Right.
take
That
it
is very
as
that
a
is
good
very
thing,
theoretical.
as a bad thing.
Right.
You have to be always
But I mean,
concerned.
but some of the best art and some of the best manifestations of art culture are things that came from colonization also. And I'm not talking about colonizing Africa or whatever. I'm talking about like when whoever invaded my country, they brought with them their ideas and then they adapted with local ideas. So you're saying it's neither good nor bad, it just is.
Yes, it is a fact that happens in human relations. So it's always about human relations, and in human relations, you have to be always aware of the power and the domination going on in the relation. So don't let the power and domination be above. Keep it relational. So
Are you
it's
are you a Marxist, Romeo?
oh well, I um, my reading of Marx is like, of course, but I cannot call myself a Marxist. I was born in a Marxist Leninist under a Marxist Leninist party that dominated that was called the dictatorship of the proletariat, and proletariat is the working class. And I turned back now to the working class by deciding to be a working class like 3 years ago. So it's a very complicated. A Marxist like
But in terms
I,
of philosophy, I hear that of this power imbalance and Jacques Derrida and stuff. So I guess you're coming from that angle where you observe systems of power in all relationships and
yes,
be aware of those.
it's also Deleuze, Foucault, a lot of I don't know.
We don't like them people in my world because they're the ones who upset the meaning of sex. But Marxist is materialist, so it should never have. I don't know. Tell me what you think.
Well, it's I mean, there are some things in Marx that can be contradictory because, of course, there was the experience, the Marx himself experience, and the geographic limitation, and his time. So we have evolved since then, and we don't have to take the Marxist and the Marx thought as something like the solid monolithic. Of course, because, and I'm saying this because Marx was somebody that opened somehow in terms of concepts. You have to be aware of domination, power, economic exploitation, and everything. And from economic exploitation, you see exploitation everywhere in every field of the human thought. So whatever you
And
think
every
you
area
you
of
should,
life.
yeah, in every area of life, and you in every so, and comes then Lenin that says, okay, now Marx has the thoughts and we must practice now, and Lenin practices. And so
And murdered
and
everyone. Yeah.
what
Sorry.
it's not, it doesn't murder anyone because that he made with other working class and the Bolsheviks, he revolutionized somehow. We couldn't have like the meaning. What does it mean diversity without the Bolsheviks? So when people says, oh, the women's rights and gay rights and gender, and think about these things without the Bolsheviks,
Right.
you will
I
understand
see.
when we are
I
now.
get it. Yeah.
So everything is like connected, and Foucault that arrives Foucault that is, he says, is micropolitics. It's in the biopolitics. It's in our biology. So all these things like translated, but shouldn't be taken as monolithic.
Yeah, I mean, we have this big sort of discussion about Foucault all the time in the domain that I work in and write about because he opened the door to interpreting gender to mean whatever. It's a power thing, you know. But it's true. He has like we sort of rail against the idea that you can deconstruct the meaning of woman or man or sex or whatever and see all the power relations lurking. But at the same time, he said, for example, and this is true, that like if somebody's designates a mental illness as a mental illness and puts it in the DSM, and we all agree it's a mental illness, that's kind of a it's a word designation that creates an other of a person, and it's related to power. And so, and at the same time, when the people who hate me, the academics who study the movement to which they claim that I belong, they're trying to create this thing called the anti-gender movement, and I am a member of that movement. And this is complete academic wordplay all the time, all the time, all the time. And they're trying to create this category that I belong to, when I just say sex is real and it matters. And I can see how I can take the work of Foucault and Derrida and those kind of people And you can sort of see, oh, they had a point, actually. They're trying to create a category of person, put me in it, and use it to dominate me and the people who have the same opinion as me. Whereas I just see it as having an opinion or having a view of sex that's a particular way. But there's an entire industry dedicated to creating this phenomenon. And they think by publishing more and more papers on it and giving more and more conferences on it, it'll become real. And then it will become a dominating force. So it's not for nothing. These theories are.
It's yeah. There are, let's say, there are two levels. So when you say that sex is real, of course it is real, and but by saying this, you are not somehow denying the power relation in between the sexes. So even without any letting aside this contemporary thinkers, Freud itself says that sex, like gender, is a cultural construction.
Gender.
And this mean, is like, and so even if you are heterosexual, so you are male genitalia and this kind of thing, and all this is interpreted thanks to the culture. And as we talked about, this culture is colonization, is domination, is power. So from the bios, from our how we are made, it's not that we are made and evolve in like a by casualties and what happens like randomly. No, we are already in the context, in a cultural context that defines us since the first day, even in the mind of our parents.
Yeah.
So that's how what is this power relation. And the other thing, so this is one thing. When you say this is one thing. The other thing is that the other define what Foucault, you mentioned Foucault in defining and putting the in the dictionary.
Yeah.
This is categorizing language as another philosopher, Italian of Marxian, not Marxist, Marxian tradition, Paolo Virilio says, language is the first institution. So we don't have to think like a bureaucratic institution. Language is the first institution. Language is the first.
Surely violence is the first institution.
Yes, but you see that what the language is something that categorizes, gives the names, giving the names. The violence is not institutionalized. When it becomes the language, is already instituted. So you will understand that I am a male and you are a female, and I am much bigger than you, and I can impose through the force my willing to you. And now we use the word. And when we use the word, so you now understand that is this word, and pay attention to this word, because when I talk, you have to shut up. And otherwise, I will make violence against you. So the language is the first. So the people that somehow put these labels to the others, it's of course the power. I want you to shut up because. So the only thing to do is to let it open. Okay, I'm saying this. I'm open. Are you open? Let's discuss about this. Yes, no.
And
If you are just putting the labels to me, what I'm saying, you don't want the discussion. So you are not open. You are just putting the labels. So that's the other thing.
And it's true because a lot of what we see related to gender or immigration or any of these issues, it is about labels, isn't it? It's about you are this, you are that. And then being unable to discuss it, I mean, it's driving a lot of people crazy. Right. I want to get on to, because we're nearly been talking for an hour already and we haven't got on to the main meat of your story, but it's really interesting talking to you about all this. So you have sort of had to change. How long did you spend doing this evaluation job? It was about 10 years, did you say?
9 years, yes.
9 years. So you were evaluating for 9 years, which means that every now and then you'd get a heads up from the commission, say, look, there's another thing coming up. Are you available? Is that sort of how it works?
Yes, every year I was involved for several months per year
Right.
with Creative Europe, Horizon, Cost Action projects, but for the agency, for the Academia,
Right. All in
none
the same
knows.
agency. Right.
No, because they are not the same agency, of course. But for this, the agency was 9 years, like a straight 9 years.
So there was Creative Europe program, which is about audiovisual media, creative arts, all that, cinema,
Yes.
everything. There was Horizon, and Horizon is about research and innovation. That's
Yes.
so that also covers culture, because I know, because I worked in that
Yep.
for a couple of years. And then Cost, which is more science and tech, am I right? And innovation hubs type thing.
Yes, is the science and the cooperation. The main thing is the cooperation of different institutions. So geographical impact of the. So the people that apply to cost usually apply to Horizon as well. So like matching and
Right.
the
All right.
budgets that they have.
And so, so how much? Let's just take one proposal, because I'd like you to go through the steps that's involved. Let's imagine we have one project proposal, part of Creative Europe. It's a festival. Maybe you can have one in mind, and just take us quickly through the steps of what is involved in the proposal, and also how many people involved. And it would be interesting also, but maybe it's a bit too delicate, to sort of try and give an idea of the overall cost of the process per person we're talking about, to get from one end, from the day that a festival organizer submits a proposal, to the day that it is announced as the winner or loser or whatever. What's going on in that process?
Well, there are different projects. Once at the beginning, there were like small scale and large scale projects, and small scale projects were always. I'm talking about now for cultural cooperation call, and these are cooperation projects from different countries, and the small projects were at least three partners from three different countries or more. And you could have from this project a maximum of 2,100 euros per project. So all these partners. And the large projects were up until 2 million. And 2 million was the maximum should be justified 50% of the budget. So the whole projects would be 4 million. So at the European Commission covered 50%, 2 million.
Romy, sorry, what's the logic? Because I see this all the time, behind making sure that you have other sources of funding. Like, why would the commission say you can't have all your money coming from us? You must have 50% coming from elsewhere. What's the logic behind that?
Well, the main thing is that you have somehow you are pushing the applicants to be self-sustained, let's say, because of course the European support is public money, and of course you can have from a public institution, from your municipality, cover that, or from your state, or from your region, or from, I don't know, interregional funds, whatever, private banking, whatever. But it's somehow so the people can be more. So they are pushing to be more self
So not
sufficient.
entirely dependent on the public money, but has
Yeah,
other. Okay,
yeah,
and maybe it's not the best way to do it, but it's a way to do it, to make sure that
yeah.
it's sustainable beyond the end of it.
That's the reason. That's the reason they gave to the applicant. So that's why they are saying to the applicant. So you have to be able to make applications not only here to European Commission, but also to other. It's good for you because you will understand better how to fundraising the whole thing. And that's, I don't know, I, I don't have any like it can be done even So you can think about this in different but you should justify according to your ideological beliefs, theoretical beliefs, technical knowledge that you have of the context. So I can also speak about that, but is somehow something subjective and would be very long. But from the context, from the European Commission, I saw it like it could make sense somehow to do like this. So this is the public funding. European Commission is not like a government, but is somehow different governments that put the money together and are now sharing to the whole Europe. Each government is participating through fundings and
Yes. So it's a
public money is
shared
public.
sort of thing. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's and is the logic. So you can debate about this, but you cannot debate about like that there is no meaning, there is no sense of doing this. There is a sense and there is a logic behind of that. You can agree and disagree, but they can demonstrate that there is a logic. And to this point, I think it's fair enough. The thing that becomes problematic, as I said, and as I noticed, is when you build all this circus with external evaluators and you spend money, millions per year, because are hundreds evaluators, only one call are hundreds of evaluators. And after the evaluators give their, so the evaluation, the paper with the points, the justification of points, with the consensus, and the consensus is not reached only between two independent experts, but also is another independent experts as a sort of supervisor, and he agrees also. He gives the same paper that of the consensus to the agency, and the agency agrees that you can submit it online, and you submit the consensus online. So it somehow has the the final seal for everybody. And then
Registered in Aris, as they would say inside.
yes,
This is-
you end.
for anyone who works inside the institutions, it's basically officialized. So
Yes.
just to run through those steps again, there's a call goes out. It says there's a pot of money here. You can have this is the limit. These are the criteria, and then all project people all over Europe get together and say, okay, maybe our summer festival, circus festival, or maybe our theater production, or maybe our boat party. About this that can be funded. So let's submit an application. So the first thing is they put it together. It goes to you and also another person independently. So the two of you work on the application at the same time. You review it, and then you get together and you see where you agree and disagree, and then you reach a consensus. Is that correct?
Yes, and the consensus is just not copy pasting part of your, because let's say that we are two individual experts and we don't know each other while we are evaluating by ourselves. We meet only in a second point when it's finished, the application, the evaluation, the first phase of the application, and there is a meeting in between individual experts. So me and you have evaluated the project independently without knowing. I mean, I maybe know you, but I don't know that you were exactly evaluating this project. So we know that we are evaluating the same projects only when the agency says that now we can do the consensus, and we make the consensus. And as I told you, we have to go point by point. So not only the how many points you gave, but also the explanation. So maybe you have seen something that I have missed, and vice versa. So we discuss about these things, and we reach a consensus, which is a sort of new report. And one of us is now called the rapporteur. The rapporteur is the one that will submit at the end of consensus. So after, if we agree, both agree, and we submit the consensus, which is like a sort of new evaluation, because it's not only mine, it's not only yours, it's not like copy pasting part of yours and mine, but we agreed. Now we saw together now what was the project.
And what you explained to me before, which I thought was interesting, was you're not, there's no ideology involved in this. Like, you're not looking at these applications and wondering if they match the political direction of whoever. You're just looking at it in terms of technical aspects, like the logistics stuff. Does it meet the criteria? What kind of criteria are we talking about? Like, let's say we had a diversity criteria. Because I know that, because I've seen also on LinkedIn, you've talked about how the criteria have become more vague with time. So I would like to understand what you mean by that.
Well, this I understood it 2019 exactly. That's what there was this problem. And exactly when I became the lead expert evaluator. Well, lead expert evaluator is when these projects that have passed the evaluation phase, the consensus reports and everything, the project that have more than 75 points, let's say, which is the threshold and maximum 100, these projects from 75 to 100 are taken into consideration to be funded by the European Commission. And this is done in another moment when these lead expert evaluators, 10 selected, 10 out of 100 that were making the individual evaluations, are taken to discuss about this project. Of course, I can have my projects that I already evaluated. So maybe I had 2 or 3 projects and you also had. So we have this 30 projects to see which one will be selected. And this
Let
is
me just
made now.
make sure it's clear. You got a kind of a promotion to lead expert evaluator in 2019. So you went from being the first guy to going into the next level, which is where you have a 10 of you, and then you review what has come up from the initial phase.
Yes. So this is the second phase. Now is decided which one of the project that have passed the threshold. So the first phase is evaluating all the projects and giving feedback for each one of them. And now regarding which one of the project that have passed the threshold will be evaluated. And here I noticed that, and I said it in that occasion, that there were some problems in defining what is the objective and what is priority. At the beginning, we had these things called priorities, like audience development, internationalization, mobility, and training and education. So our priorities were called priorities. And then at the second point, and in this call, I saw them as objectives. And it doesn't make sense that last year you had these calling priorities and now are becoming objectives. From a managerial point of view, and a lot of people are against the managerialism, and because Europe is all about management and no, it wasn't. This was the case when something very strange happened, and everything became.
Can I make sure I understand? Are you saying that at the let's call it phase 1 and phase 2, just to make it easier for people to understand. So phase 1 is the initial evaluation, then it goes up the ladder to phase 2, and you're talking about being in those meetings now. In phase 2, where you look at, are you saying that the word changed from the category went from priorities to objectives from phase 1 to phase 2, or
No. Was from the previous, and in that occasion I asked, why last year this? Have you noticed that this thing that last year was priorities and now you are calling it objectives? So
and what's the difference between those words in
yes, what's the difference? And there is a difference because you cannot put, for example, priorities after the objectives. So if you say that I am the public institution, I am the European Commission, what is our view of art and culture? You should start that this is our vision and mission, and these are our priorities. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. After the priorities for common managerial, we're talking about technical things now in management. After the priorities, you have to put the objectives. Okay. And these objectives are 1, 2, 3 objectives for each priority, not 100, because you lose yourself. So, who understands this in terms of management, who has studied management? You cannot put one objective is very specific. That's why it's called objective. So, after the
Can you give me an
priority,
example, a concrete example of a priority and what an objective would be linked to that priority, just so I may understand.
well, I will not make an example like because you can choose whatever word, but that word must be specific. If you are saying, for example, that this year's priorities are audience development, education and training, is mobility of artists. Okay, these are, you cannot change this and say that, oh, now these are called objectives and our priorities is, for example, diversity, because it's like putting something aside. No, you say, okay, if it is priority, so does it matter for me? I'm the manager. I don't even understand. I just want to see it on the paper, like the real structure of your open call. So if you say that
I want to
your
know what you really
priority,
want.
if your priority is diversity, if your priority is green, okay, the greening European, so greening creative Europe, okay. If you say this, you cannot put it aside of these objectives that doesn't have any connection with audience development and you cannot. You have to say this is the priority, and under diversity, I want to make audience
This
development.
technical objective
Yes,
or this
audience
specific
development,
objective.
training and education. So we will train and educate people about diversity, and we will train. Uh, so
So
that's
you're saying that the sort of political priorities became the objectives.
yes, and without any reason. I think it's because of the ignorance of the people that did that, because of somebody that took that position to make these changes without having any real concrete experience in doing the open call. I mean, in a managerial structural way, just had the experience making open calls for some who knows institution, and they make these changes. And to me, it
Because that
appears
makes
strange
your
that
job.
nobody noticed this.
Nobody flagged it, but also it's clear that that makes your job much more difficult because
Of
you're.
course, because how can you justify? So
Yeah.
how can I justify now? The objectives are okay, audience development and these kind of things. Oh, you have to check also the priority. Do they have the diversity priority? And they said, but hey, but you have to put these objectives under this priority, not aside, because it seems that we are now embellishing their projects. Okay, we will have also 5 women and 30 transgender, or just to make it like, okay, we are involved in people. No, you have to be specific. So, and you have to take the responsibility as an institution to do so, so the people is clear. And when they have the paper from my evaluation, they will see the points and the justification of points that I gave based on the
Because you're
criteria of the
also.
institution.
Yeah, because you're not just annoyed that here you have these kind of difficult to do job anymore. It's also because you have to justify why you gave points or didn't give points if somebody comes and makes an appeal and says, I did do this. I told you last time, because this is so funny. I have a friend who she does advocacy for the European Network of Migrant Women, and they failed in one of their applications because they didn't have a gender angle. They failed the gender wasn't enough of a gendered angle, because in the institutions, what used to be women is called gender now, and gender is a framework and a concept and a theory and an ideology and all this stuff. And it wasn't enough to be rescuing women who were prostituted from trains coming from
I cannot say, like, because I'm listening now to you and the words that you are using. So these people got a paper that says that, hey, you are not enough. You did not make enough of this, which I don't care what is this, but is not enough. In terms of evaluation, I cannot say that this project is not enough because I have to say why. I have to say why. This is not enough because it's not involving, what can I say, a balanced number of women and men, a balanced number of children and, I don't know, adults or whatever. But I have to explain. If I don't say what enough is, how will you understand what is missing from your project?
And
What
she's
is
actually thinking about going to take them to court because it's completely wrong in her view. But so, yeah, obviously the evaluator wasn't able to justify to a degree to her that she found satisfactory,
Well,
and probably because
if she sends the evaluation that she received to me, I can tell to her what is missing because I was instructed from the European Commission to do this, what I already told you now. So the evaluator must specify exactly in terms of number and justification of that number. So it's not enough. That's not concrete. It's not substantiated, is the word that they use.
so
You
you
have
so
to
you think that
substantiate.
you have to substantiate everything. So you think that it could have been just like, just ignorance that caused this change. You don't necessarily see that it was because
I
2019
don't
was
have
the
the
year
proof
of,
why.
you don't
I
have,
don't
you've
have the
no idea
proof
why.
how
You just have
I
guesses.
can just make, like, have an opinion, but it's an opinion. It's not that I can prove it.
All right.
But
So
the
where's
result
your
is the
you
same.
the
So
result is the same. Yes. I am interested in why this moved from one way of doing things to another. But yeah, ultimately for your job sort of changed then. When did your troubles start?
well, the trouble started when I didn't have a reply for this project in 2020 because I saw the project was funded and was under the threshold. And now I have this
Sorry,
project.
you're gonna have to, because we haven't spoken enough about that yet. You evaluated a particular project. It went through you and your partner, invisible partner. You came together, made a consensus. You go to the third person. You make a consensus document. You upload it to the commission system. It goes to the experts, and then you're finished with it. You've done your job. You've evaluated it. This particular project came under the threshold, under 70 points. Is that correct?
Yes, and the threshold was 75 because
The
I
threshold was
told you
75.
I have this project declared to the prosecutors and was almost 2 million, 1,000,000 and 900 and something.
Right. So
And
slow down a sec, because we haven't explained what happened. Do you basically, this project didn't pass the threshold, so that should have been the end of the project. But what did you find out?
yes, yes, I found out in 2020 that this project was, I saw the list of the projects. I didn't even usually check the list, but I don't know why. Because maybe because of this, that in 2019, that was this change of objectives and priorities that make me think. And then, of course, COVID thing and, Ursula von der Leyen and all the Pfizer gates, and the decision how the European. So I don't know. I checked the list and I saw this project that was under the threshold, evaluated by me with no concerns and disagreements in between the experts. So agreed with the supervisor, the quality checker that is there, and also with the green light from the agency. He submitted, and the project didn't reach the threshold. And I saw this project having the support from for 1.9 million euros. And I asked for 2 years. I didn't ask immediately because at a certain point after the evaluation, you don't keep in touch with the people inside. So I asked the next year and to interview to check now how is this possible. But for the interview with somebody from inside, I didn't they didn't even reply to
You
me.
mean
So
meeting?
they asked what interview is about, and I said it will be about a book called
Oh, for your book. Okay.
The Transparent Elephant in the Room, which is about the transparency in the decision making that I wrote.
In the EU system.
Yes, also in the EU system. And I didn't have any feedback. And now was more than 2 years past, and in 2023, when I was now asked as a senior evaluator to explain to in a meeting with 100 experts online to explain how to do and how I used to do as a good practice the consensus report, which is the second phase, as I told you, after the individual evaluator. So how you should reach a consensus report. And that occasion I asked specifically, hey, what is the problem with me seeing the paper that you give to the applicants? Which of the paper is the evaluation, the consensus evaluation? That's what
Romeo, I'm gonna have to slow you down and take people through the steps because this story is so familiar to you and it's familiar to me. But I just want to break it down what your the steps because it's super interesting and it's really important. So basically, let's just say it this way, you failed this project. There was a consensus with the other person, the other evaluator. It didn't pass the threshold. You passed it up through the machine. The next step up, they were like, yep, we accept your evaluation. Basta, end of story. This project doesn't pass the threshold. And then a year later, you're checking on the list of awards, who got funded, and you notice that this project has actually been funded to the tune of 1.9 million euro. So you thought to yourself, that's funny. So you asked to have a discussion with the people in the agency because you wanted to know how this could happen. Because you're writing a book at this stage about how the system actually works. Because, why did you, just before I continue, why did you decide to write the book?
because, as I told you, it's part of my practice, like academic background, and also in terms of art and culture. I practice uh, uh, a form of art that is called institutional critique.
Ooh, nice.
So, is a conceptual art, is very niche in the conceptual art domain, but this is institutional critique. So, I'm involved like I don't know 360 degrees in these kind of things, which are not very attractive to other people, but for me are very
No, it's
important.
very meta. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
it's right. So you're writing your book and you're like, okay, I've been involved in this what appears to be a kind of a shambolic process because I have seen a project that we spend lots of hours and lots of people involved in evaluating to see if it meets the objectives and what they're now called priorities. And we found that it wasn't good enough to receive public money. But at this, am I part of the art piece now? Am I in the work?
no, well,
I better
you
be.
should be, you should be, and you should be.
We'll see how this goes. Right. So you've decided this is no good. And yet the commission decides anyway, we're going to give this project money. So this is no good. So this is the best part of the story, as far as I'm concerned. They refuse to answer your questions about this. And then they sort of have like a brain fart and forget, and then they invite you back to teach new evaluators how to do the evaluation process. What you just said to me was what you were just saying was one of the things that you were asking the agency for, you were saying, I want to know for this particular project that I didn't pass the threshold, that didn't pass the threshold. Give me what did you give to the applicants? That's, I want to know what
Yes,
report you
I,
gave to,
I didn't.
those are my
uh,
words.
Yeah, at the beginning, I didn't ask for that specific project, but I asked because during the whole 9 years, I have been told in written and so it's written in documents that they give to us, external evaluators, that your evaluation will be read by the applicant. So pay attention with what you write and everything. So that was clear for me that this paper is given to the applicants. And now I asked in that occasion, can we see what the applicants
Received.
are receiving?
Mhm.
I took the occasion because, as I told you, I didn't have any reply for the interview and
Yeah.
explanation of what happened before. So I wanted, in that occasion, now tell me what
Yeah.
is the practice, what is the procedure. And they told no, because you cannot see because of the privacy reasons. And I said, hey, but you are giving to me all the application package of the applicants. And the application package is everything with, I know their names, their phones, and their banking numbers, what their financial situation. What are you talking about?
Bullshit.
And in the thing, so in the paper, we don't write about privacy things. It's what your project is evaluated. So in points and justification, what is the privacy there? And for me, it's not that I will publish this. It's consider that you are telling me that it's my work given to them. I want to see that you really give this to them. No, because of privacy reasons. And that was the ending of, because after this I thought, okay, I now understand what I'm involved in, that these people are not giving my things to, they change, and they in the same occasion they says, oh, it's almost 99% of your
Your
evaluation,
words, your feedback. Yeah. Yeah.
what your consensus, so your and your colleagues consensus. And I
So
said,
you're
but
saying to them, those are my words that you're transmitting to these applicants. This is my, you're attributing my name to it, so I want to see it.
yes,
And they're like, well, it's just 99%. Actually, the
yes, and
1%.
1% can be one number or one yes or one no. So not funded, that's 1%. So that's very tricky. And then I asked and I interviewed, and I went through the Ombudsman, European Ombudsman, through the Court of Auditors, through I interviewed the director immediately of the agency, and I saw that there was this trick, and they were telling me that you are not evaluator, you are assisting us in making the evaluations. And I said, how I am assisting you when I do 99% of the work? How is this assistance?
And Romeo, did you
So
say to me before that your
when
name is publicly attached to those decisions on internal websites or external?
no, it's so if you have more than 50 now, before was 10,000 and now it's 15,000 euros, your name is public. So if you are external evaluator and you have made evaluated projects for more than 10,000, which I did for several times, your name is public. And now the tricky things about this that you have asked, as we talked about before, is that these people that make changes, called the evaluation committee, the names of these people are not public. So my name is public and their name is not public. So how can the public check their conflict of interest, for example? Nepotism, favor exchanging, whatever.
So the whole thing is theater. The whole thing
This
is
theater
elaborate
is
theater.
a circus of making this evaluators from all around Europe, external evaluators, just to change and decide yourself whatever you want with their
And
work.
what, so
After that.
so it's at some point you must have had suspicions about the system, and but then at some point something broke and you said, okay, this is actually a circus, this is bullshit. Was there a very definite point that happened, or was it gradual over the years?
Was, as I told you, the suspicion came from 2019 with the objectives and priorities. But that was the definite when they told me, like in live meeting, when I was asking in front of 100 other people that, hey, we do changes, but only 1%, so 99% is your work. And I said, okay, now I understand what the circles I'm involved in. So
Because I just love that scene, and I would like to, because I love this kind of thing. I just want to paint a picture of what the actual unfolded. So you're sitting in a meeting. You're with. Are there people like? Is there like 100 people online in the room?
yes,
And you basically say, hello, yeah, I'm going to be here to help you understand how to evaluate an EU project, by the way. And then you
Yes.
pike up and you raise your
I did.
concern in front of everyone.
I did know this. There was, because I was asked to participate by the officers. There are these project officers from the inside people that organize these meetings, and I was asked, me and other two people, I remember, we were asked to make a presentation how we do the consensus and to explain to others. So I guess like a good practices, to share the good practices within ourselves. So that was their intention, and I made the presentation, and there was this first break, and after the break there was these questions who wanted to ask to whomever, and I asked exactly this kind of thing. Hey, after the consensus, we have closed everything with a consensus report. Is this given to the applicants, and can we see that? And I found this very little change that they could make. And that was the thing that I understood. And then I checked the regulation and the financial regulation that regulates, of course, the agency, but also the horizon and whatever in the decisions I've taken.
The legal basis, yeah.
Yeah, the legal basis. And there I saw this Article 150, where this committee can suggest changes. So they cannot make changes. They cannot make changes to what I have written. They can suggest changes. And to whom they can suggest changes? To somebody that made the evaluation. So to me, they have to ask me and suggest as they have already done. Because in the consensus phase, when I said to you that there is this supervisor that controls two individual experts making the consensus, he says, okay, for me is okay, I will send it to the agency, and the agency says okay or suggests. I have received in other occasions suggestions from the agency, meaning I received suggestions and I changed or not,
Yeah.
depending on.
So you could, in theory, say that Article 150 was referring to that, but it's not, because the suggestion, if the suggestion had been made to you, it would have been incorporated or rejected, and that's not what happened in this case.
Yeah, and if, as I told you, if it happened in that case, it happened in every case, because it means that it's not only about one project that was supported. It's also about the project that weren't supported.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How come that I haven't been asked why have you rejected one project? And if you do this, you are just making jokes with the whole art and culture scene and just doing whatever are your reasons to channel funds to certain people. So that's
Can we talk about then? So this is where things get a little bit sensitive. So it sounds like the EU has breached its own regulation, and is that a matter for a court case? That's one sensitive area, and then sensitive area B is why we think in this particular case that project was waved through. So you've told me off mic before what your suspicion is. Is it too delicate to say what your suspicion is here and now and have it on camera, or should we stay away from it?
no, I can say also the project because as I told you,
Because you didn't tell me the name of the project before. I was going to go look for it and find it anyway, but
no, it's because as I told you, it's in the public
domain.
record.
Yeah.
What is happening now? I cannot open. It's incredible. Somebody is hacking my computer.
I wouldn't even laugh, actually, because I get paranoid. I mean, as soon as you told me the last time we were speaking, the amounts of money that we're talking about, then I kind of got scared because, it's big amounts of money. When the amount of money is as big as it is, then you can start to get scared about intimidation and threats and stuff.
Yeah. It's very strange. I'm getting angry now.
Are you trying to record this?
Yeah, I'm trying to open, but it's blocked. I cannot change the pages. I see only our. Hey, but if it is not on the record, I mean, video record, it's the project number 616805.
Okay.
Uh,
And you want me to take that out of the recording, Romeo?
no, you can keep it in the record on the
Okay.
616805.
And what is that?
CREA
Yeah.
1 2020
Yeah.
1 PT.
PT is in Portugal.
Yes, it's Portugal because it's Portugal the leading partner.
Mm-hmm.
CULT, CULT, COP, COOP, yeah, COP.
Oh yeah, cooperation.
Cooperation, and 2. And the project is European Creative Rooftop Network.
Rooftop.
And this project was funded with 1,979,281 euros.
Right. What was the rooftop part about?
Well, there was, as I remember now, because there was this project about reevaluating the rooftop of the building and to make artistic cultural activities. And as I told you, it was a good project. I mean, in overall terms, because also when you say good is a marking definition. Good means a range of points because there are weak projects, fair, good, very good, excellent. And each one of these words presents like a range of points. So when you say good, there is a range of points that goes until up to 75 for, as I told you, to the threshold. If it is very good, should be over. If I say very good, so that's why I told you that it's very important when you use evaluation the words because you have to justify with points all these words. So if you say this, you have to be very careful what you. And that was good range, so under the threshold, and support it.
Here's where the libelous or defamatory or complicated part gets in. It would be the lead applicant, even if there's a number of partners in the project, it would be the lead.
He's the lead applicant with other, the lead applicant is the one that manages the projects from a financial point of view.
And I'm going to say it, or if you don't want to say it just in case, or is it part of your legal case that you're...
But to me, it's not, as I
Doesn't
told
matter.
you, it doesn't matter who was. It's
Right.
this in this case, because it's public. Also, this is published on European website of the European Commission, is Faro Town Hall. So it's the municipality of Faro in Portugal.
So I understand very well from the first conversations that we had that for you, it's the principle that matters. It's not that this particular politician or that particular ideology or whatever, it doesn't matter to you. What matters to you is the fact that you were involved, you were forced to participate in evaluation theater, which wasn't real because ultimately
I
some
was
faces...
forced the evaluation theater because I wasn't forced to. I applied by myself. I wanted to do this, and I was happy to do this. But
No,
I
but you
wasn't
were
happy when I
participating.
found that I was in the circus. So
Yes, that's what I mean. You were forced to participate in a bit of theater that you hadn't agreed to. But what is interesting as well is that you were in the session for the new evaluators, and when they found out that, uh-oh, maybe I'm involved in a circus, because you raised a point that might have given some of those future evaluators a hint that actually what they were being lined up to do might not be all what it seems. You said to me that nobody seemed to object. So if you had had a hint, back, you tell me what you think about what I'm saying, maybe I've misunderstood, but if you had had a chance to object back then and you had understood, okay, I can earn 500 euro a day or whatever, but it's actually all fake, what would you have done? Are you that principled?
well, and as I told you, I saw that at the time in 2015 as the best, and actually as a practice. You just take out this thing of 1% that they can make because they cannot make it. You read the article 150 of the regulation and they cannot make it. So that's 100%. I don't know how the European prosecutors and nobody acted and already said something about this. So based on that, it's impossible. So as a practice, is a very good, is the best practice that you can have in Europe. I know a lot of other situations in Finland, in Italy, in Germany, in UK, in United States, in Albania, in China, in Russia. So I know how they fund. So I mean the public institution, not everyone, but the public institutions. So the procedures and the process of funding is the best we can have. Okay. And when I found this thing, it's like crazy. I couldn't believe. Of course, that if I knew it at the beginning, I wouldn't even consider to participate this bullshit. It's in 2014-15 in Albania, I was exactly in the position and involved with other friends and colleagues, and I wrote a manifest of transparency in and as culture. So that was a manifesto, and I wrote it, and what it was about how to make the decision, how do we should act when people so within the institutions doesn't give our feedbacks and all these things. And I entered in this circus thinking that this was the right thing to do and that was the best practice we could do.
So they made a big mistake in hiring you because this is actually your thing. Your thing is the transparency in the system and the procedures about funding public funding of the arts. And the commission put you into a circus and you discovered that you were in a circus while you were mid trapeze and you said, okay, what's going on here? This process isn't what you've promised me it was. And so then you went to the responsible people, you went to the agency, you went to the Ombudsman, which is the one supposed to be keeping the commission the
was the previous ombudsman, the European ombudsman,
the Irish
also a
woman.
Irish
Yeah.
woman. I don't remember now the name, but they
O'Reilly?
were just the
Emily.
yes, yes. She was the. I also sent her because I was incredible. Also, if you see the email exchanges with the ombudsman experts, it's very ridiculous. They were just communicating. Meanwhile, it's very visible in the exchange. Meanwhile, they were communicating with the agency, something that they shouldn't do, and they were telling me justifications that I already heard. So that I understood. Hey, but you are telling me words. Make your decision as the ombudsman based on what I say and based what they say. So make your decision. And at the end, they said something that like we are quitting now the exchange because of myself being too harsh or something like this. What it's
This is
incredible.
standard stuff. Yeah, that's what you get. Eventually they act like the
And
victim. Yeah.
yeah, I demonstrated. So this is your second last message, and this is your last message. These two messages are contradictory. Where I am missing something. We have already replied to you, and that's the final message. So that's what's
Did you
crazy.
ever All right, a couple of points because you don't care about the reasons why this project might have passed, but I do only because not because I'm trying to root out. I'm not trying to root out corruption. I'm trying to figure out why certain things are happening, why decisions are being made, particularly related to my topic, which is women and gender and LGBTIQ stuff and all that stuff. And I want to know why certain decisions were being made. And so we see one of the big problems that we have when I see I'm talking about turfs, is that all this stuff keeps getting funded and we don't know why all this money keeps coming. So when I saw your story, I was wondering if it was an ideological thing. But I think it's safe to assume that this is not an ideological decision. This was just a money thing and a political thing. It was the municipality of Faro, which is one of the big cities in the south of Portugal. And it was basically the local politicians who would have been who were the leader of the project, which, by the way, I'm just going to read out a line from it because it's very funny. Because I've worked in the commission for years, and it's just I read bullshit and I speak bullshit very well. And I see here one of the projects that's in this network of Rooftop network to develop the roofscape related skills of the future generation. So roofscape related skills is a whole thing. So we can see that these are like, I can see here that the municipality of Faro maybe wanted to renovate their rooftop and do some nice thing with it, so they make it fit into a project that might get funding. Like, this is just how these things work, isn't it? And so we want to use this space, so we'll make up a thing called a roofscape related skills, I guess. So I don't know. But anyway, basically all it is they renovated the roof and now they have parties on it. Am I right? That's basically it.
Well, now you are opening something that's boxes of memories because now I'm remembering what was something very problematic with me for this project, because in 2016 I saw the Tirana municipality doing the same on the municipality, the building on the roof, when the mayor opened these things and were very innovative, something stupid because Pickles made a concert in the 70s on the roof. So what are you doing? If it, why is this innovative? What do you think you are creative with this? So I saw Beatles singing on the rooftop. So what are you? And he sold it in 2016, and this project is of 2019. So the project should have started in 2020. So this of Faro municipality. So wasn't so to me wasn't new enough, and wasn't hasn't demonstrated what exactly could bring in terms of creative. Of course, they will involve people, but wasn't very specified and detailed, this creative side.
Because you know what you reminded me of something just when you said that about Tirana. So I remember reading, so obviously you know this, that all the Balkan states are trying to join the EU.
Yes.
And one of the big things is to gay marriage, pride parades, very colonial idea, neo-colonial idea. You must have a pride parade. It must be loud and obnoxious and annoying, and it must be in the main street. And you must allow gay marriage, and you must allow this, and this, which is completely inorganic way to change society. Awful. I think it's a terrible idea. But one of the things that happened, I remember, is there was the first gay wedding of a country, and I don't remember if it was Albania or if it was Montenegro or if it was either Albania or Montenegro, or which is the other big accession state over there?
It's Albania and Montenegro for sure.
Albania, Montenegro. It was on a rooftop. The first gay wedding was on a rooftop of the town hall.
Yeah, maybe.
So-
Maybe it's not. I'm not amazed by that because I know who the people that were involved, and usually this you talk to the parade, and I made some, because as I told you, I've been involved very actively, the art and culture scene, and these are the people that show the pride for a ride, and the ride is usually just on the boulevard, the main street, and they
okay.
disappear for 1 year.